and welcome to another episode of Mother's Mysteries. And this one I'm calling The Reality Dream and Your Role Within It. And my intention with this episode is to describe or flesh out a little bit more of the story of Sophia and her capabilities, tool set that she's using, and her role in our life, so that we can understand our role in hers and understand our same tool set and capabilities, because we are endowed with the same thing. So the more that we can understand more of her story, which comes from the Gnostics, which are, they're still around, but this is all old mystery school teachings. The Gnostics were the mystery school teachers, the magicians, stuff like that. So this stuff is very ancient, very old, but very relevant. And I think that it's very fitting that all of this stuff is coming to the surface, just like the Nag Hammadi did in 1945, because this story is more relevant than ever, and it's more real than ever, especially I find for women to learn. Not that men can't learn this and it's not as meaningful for them, but I just find it really helps women come back to their important role in society, by understanding this story and fleshing out the reasons for it. So the reality dream. I want to talk about dreaming. And I love dreaming so much. I think it is such a beautiful experience that we get to partake in just simply by being alive. Every time we go to sleep, we literally go into another dimension. And you know that because your body doesn't move. I mean, it does move, and there's sleep paralysis and stuff like that. But when you're sleeping and in your dream, you're on like some tropical vacation. I'm always on the beach in my dream. And then you wake up in bed and you like haven't actually gone anywhere. Like, you create this whole other reality that you are interacting in. So that means that it's all up here, baby. And you have another body to use, in those realms, and a lot of stuff can happen there. And it's just something that's so normal for us. Many of us just overlook dreaming as, we had a weird dream where, we were late and whatever. And then you're like, oh, I'm anxious and that's why. But okay, but that's your own constructs building an entirely different reality for you to interact in and within and be a part of. And I just think that it's such a cool thing that we get to play with. And it's more, I want to say important, but that's kind of not quite, it's more relevant and important than people realize, I think. And part of the story of Sophia started to wake me up to that. No pun intended. So if you haven't listened to the first episode, I really do recommend that you do, because it's a good background story on who Sophia is specifically, and what her role is in our lives, and what she's doing now. So I'm going to flesh that out a little bit more. So basically, to recap, Sophia is the naked body of Gaia. Sorry, I have to sneeze. My allergies are so bad right now. Okay, sorry. Sophia is the naked body of Gaia, and that's like the easiest kind of visual to get you started. She is, in a sense, Gaia's higher self, but to elaborate on that, it's not just Sophia is Gaia's higher self, period. We get to learn who Sophia actually is, and her personality and her relevance and stuff like that. So what the story says is that Sophia is an aeon, and these aeons are like the ultimate creator gods and goddesses, and they live in the galactic core, which is, I love the Gnostic story so much, because it's like, it happens here and this is who did it, and this is blah blah blah, and this is the relevance today. Like, what other religion does that, you know? And this isn't even a religion, do you know what I mean? Like, I try to not parallel it so much, but I can't help but parallel, be like, you know, I grew up with the Christian story, and you're left with more questions than answers. And the Sophianic myth does it. I mean, I haven't found a whole yet, and I'm just exploring it though, so I'm sure I'll come across stuff. But anyways, she is this aeon from the galactic core, and what these aeons do in the galactic core of our galaxy, the Milky Way galaxy, is they create life forms. They work in pairs, male, female, which is hence why we work in pairs too. and in pairs, they create like little packets, like seed packets of amino acids, and you know, the stuff that we're made of. And they create it in pairs, and what they do is like a divine dance. And these aeons, they're not like personified per se, they're more of like big energy streams, big energy serpents is probably the best way to describe them. And this is just, you know, it's just what they do. And there are older aeons, younger aeons. So Sophia, at the beginning of our story, is a bit of a younger aeon. Sorry for my sniffles. I swear I have the thing that I'm allergic to right outside my apartment building. So she was a bit of a younger aeon, and her partner, her consort, is named Thelete, and that is the masculine counterpart. And together, Sophia and Thelete together created the human genome, and they called it Anthropos. And what's funny about Anthropos is, I think that's the original Greek, like that's a Greek word. And I believe that Anthropos, well, by the Gnostics, it's referring to all humans, but I think that in translations of the Bible, they just took that as man, because that is the word for man in Greek. I think, I could be wrong. But right there is like exhibit A of a mistranslation that, you know, everybody thinks that the whole Bible is about man, but it's about the human genome. They created Anthropos. And this story that I'm going to tell you, a lot of it is coming from John Lamb Lash's emails that I get. Like, the way that he's done that is really cool, and I would definitely, I'll put the link. I would definitely recommend subscribing so you can read like the episodes. They're amazing, but it adds a lot of like real words to the stuff that's in the Nag Hammadi, because it's kind of abstract. It's not abstract, it's just the words, you know, like old-timey languages. There's just so many words that you have to kind of sift through. But even just in the Nag Hammadi, the creation story and all that stuff is so crazy. So anyways, Sophia and Thelete created us in a packet to go out into the solar system, and then it lands in the galactic arms. And specifically for us, it goes through the Orion M42 nebula to gestate. It's like a womb, and then to be sent out into wherever it lands and finds a habitable place. And this is just typical Aeonic stuff. This is what they do. They don't get involved with their experiments. They're like scientists, like creator, god, artist, scientists things. And you know what? This is like the answer that, I mean, I've wanted, who created me and why? And just as another aside, I remember, I don't know if I read this or something, but it's something that's always stuck with me. Those big doors, I think they're in Peru. It's one of those stargates, definitely been on Ancient Aliens, but I think it's a really big wall that just has the little cutout, it looks like a door, but you have to like, whatever. So this guy was there, and he was there with his fiance, and he's like super into this stuff. And he was like, okay, a girl, you wait here, over here. I'm going to go over there, meditate hella, and we're going to see what happens. So, because she's like, I'm going to, let's see what you do, and then go from there. And so he meditated in this doorway, and like, she said that his body left. I don't know if he just astral projected or if he actually left and went through the doorway, but he said that once he did and he was on the other side of that doorway, he was in somewhere that was just white light, like the galactic core, and Sophia is also white light. He said he was in a room that was like, it was like all white, and they were like scientists, and it was literally like an experiment, like they were doing an experiment, and he went in there and he talked to them, and he was like, where the hell am I? Can you imagine just like meditating, and then he asked for it. Number one, he asked for this. Number two, to be like, can my wife come? Or but he said that he talked to them, and they were like, we didn't know what would happen, and this was just an experiment, and we are helping you and we're with you, but and that was just kind of the whole scene, and then I think he got pulled back out. But that is always in my head as to the Aeonic core and what these Aeons are doing in the galactic cores. They really are just experimenting, and they usually don't get involved in their experiments, like a regular scientist like we do down here. They want to see how it goes, see how it unfolds, and that's just what they do. That's just, what else are you going to do when you're like that high up, creating universes, creating worlds, creating all that stuff? You're going to see how it goes. And the thing is, in the Aeonic core, it's just a different size scale, like entirely. And the 1,000 year cycle comes into play here, because 26,000 years for them is like a day for us. No, other way around. Sorry. I always get it so mixed up. My left brain is like, no, never do anything like that. 26,000 years for us, hence those cycles, is like either a day or a month for them. And then the 6,000 year cycles is like an hour for them. Something like that, where it's those yearly cycles have to do with Aeonic time changing, and that's why things are like that. And that's why it like ebbs and flows and stuff, because stuff that's going on in the Aeonic core, is it's happening like really normal for them. Like this experiment for us, maybe it's just been a couple months for them, and we're down here and we're like, when are you going to help us? When are you going to intervene? And it's like, well, right, like soon, but soon to them is not the same soon to us. Where was I? So yes. So Sophia and Thelete created us to be sent out, and us right now, we are Anthropos 10. Okay. And I know that there are some XRP people following me, and perhaps you're watching this video, and need I remind you, 10 Anthropos 10. Okay. There's a lot of the 1-0 stuff around like binary, everything like that. But in the Gnostic creation story, we who are here now are Anthropos 10, which means, oops, science, right? This happens if you're a scientist, I guess. Anthropos 1 to 9 didn't work so well. And I've been having this unfold for me. I'm not gonna go too much into it yet, but think it's gonna be an episode eventually. I have this theory that the 9 times that the human genome did not succeed, and it did not succeed because we didn't realize our full potential, and like things just became distorted, and we like killed each other, or there was a cataclysm, or things like that. There's a part of me that thinks that we, Anthropos 10, remembers all of that. And that's why, you know, some of us have past life experiences of Atlantis, and, you know, maybe that was a different Anthropos experiment. Or, you know, how people talk about, Lyra and those kinds of planets. I think there maybe could be something to that the 1 to 9 Anthropos just didn't work, and then that's the reason for every cataclysm up until now. And I'm gonna tie this together. I'm kind of talking on two ends, and then, you know, so Sophia and Thelete, Anthropos 10. Okay, so the first 9 didn't work, and Sophia, like a young Aeon or, you know, mother would do, started to imagine. And this imagination technique is a creation technique of the Aeons. And I just want you to notice everything they do, we can do. Like, we literally were endowed with the same powers and responsibilities that I guess we have not been able to handle yet. So Sophia was imagining having a mind dream, like a mind play, without Thelete. Okay, this is important. Without her consort. It was just Sophia thinking in her mind of like, okay, this is obviously paraphrasing, but she's fun. So she's like, oh my God, my first 9 experiments have failed. What the fuck am I going to do? And she starts imagining it and just like having these different movies play out in her head of, you know, this is obviously, you know, she created us. So this is genius level shit, because our bodies are insane. And we're always like, oh, our creator must be so wise and nature's so amazing. And it's like on purpose. So in her imaginings, in her dream is what it was. It was like a daydream, but on this level, it's like much more, just more, you know, Sophia would be more in control of it. But you know, she's young, and this is her kind of first time getting like really stuck like this. And the Aeons, it's not like they have a rule set to be like, oh, you need to do this to create, otherwise you can't do it. It's like, this is the guideline, and then if you don't do it, whatever, this is just kind of to help you to have these guidelines. And so one of like the other things that they can do, and will utilize this, but not always, it's like one of those exceptional circumstance things, is the Aeons will do something called avataric descent. Oh yeah. Yes. This was something I read it in one of John Lamlash's emails, and I know I said this in my last podcast, but the stuff that he says, I'm just like, you know, that happened to me in a dream, or that happened. And it's just like, what? And so that's why I keep pursuing this, is because it's like my life has molded together with my dreams. And it just makes sense to me. So she was like, okay, I've never done avataric descent. Other aeons have. And in her imagination dream state of creation, she imagined what it would be like to descend into her experiment. And that's what an avataric descent is these aeons will take an avatar body or anything, like something physical, a dense form, to be within the experiment. Like I said on my last episode, it's like me in like playing The Sims and being like, oh my God, I just need to join them and help them. And because I love them, because these are my sim children, like that, but like on a different, more meaningful level than just Sims. Funny that it's a game though. There's so many truths and hidden twisted stuff that once you know the story, it's just so much stuff makes sense. So in her lucid dreaming imagination state of trying to solve this problem and thinking of avataric descent, even though she's never done it before, she was just like, when that happened, because of the level that we're working at here, she managed to send like a big plume of herself out of the galactic core from this pure desire, pure wanting to help so much. And this is why when we create out of love and desire, like stuff manifests like crazy. So this is what was like in her, which is this pure love, desire to help her creation because she had understood that she, like the first 9 times weren't working because Sophia and Thelate gave us too much potential and we didn't know what to do with it. So we needed to be taught. We needed to be coddled in a sense and have that kind of storyline and that figure to guide us through it. So in her imagining of the avataric descent, and when she fell like a plume of light, literally an energetic stream, and you can find recreations and stuff like I think it's the Thunderbolt Project. I need to look into that more, but if you've seen my Twitter, I've posted some stuff from them. It's really cool. So all of this stuff is having a real like physical reflection in our universe. So she's falling as this plasmic torrent of energy, and she's just being pulled to the exact right place where her body can become the setting on which and within which her experiment will succeed. So because of her creative, imaginative powers, it was literally like, okay, well, this is the solution. You are going to become the setting, the material, the essence all around these people, what is in these people, in order to enlighten, literally bring more light into her experiment so that there can be success. And in the beginning stages of this, when she first fell, because she fell without her consort, without Thelate, without him in the imaginings, and you know, that's another aside, is that if you are in a couple that creative power of putting your minds together, literally. And it says this in the Nag Hammadi too. Jesus says, you put two and two together, you can move mountains. And it's true, as above, so below. Like, I just love sharing this because it's connecting so many dots for me. I've never really understood as above, so below, because I didn't know what was fully above, you know? Like, I get as within, so without, like that makes more sense to me. But as above, so below, as above in the aeonic core, which is the galactic core. And it's like they're just through that hole and they're all there. And it's like a white light. It's also called the pleroma, which is like a gold nugget. Like, it just makes sense. And where we live is basically where they put their creations to see what happens. And Sophia getting involved on this level, this scale, is like, I want to say it's unheard of. Definitely hasn't happened in, like, I don't know if ever. But again, I don't know the other aeons and their creations, and maybe they're involved in their own universes. I don't know. This is the thing. It's just so juicy. So this was the solution that she became. She became the solution of being our setting. And like I was saying before, you know, we started to get more involved here. There were layers to Sophia's creation and how she came down. And this is where I was going. Because she didn't have Thelete, she fell without her divine masculine counterpart and ended up creating the opposite of a divine masculine counterpart. And she created the archons, which, if they are to be physically described, they are like a inorganic tech locust species. I know, crazy, but it literally says this stuff in the Gnostic text. And they are just the opposite of her, and they do not have the same powers as her. And, you know, she would have just let them be all cool because she's like, this is my experiment. But the first one to arise from that, the lead archon, is none other than the Old Testament God. And the Gnostics called him Yaldabaoth, and Samael, blind god. It says this in the next, like, it's crazy, the story. It's like a sci-fi thing, but it, you know, it's the only continuous story. And he denied that there was anything before him. And he was like, I am the only thing. I am so beautiful. I have a lion head, rawr. Look at my body. It's like, and everybody must obey me and, you know, be unhappy when you do it because I don't want anybody to be happy. That's basically him. That's why in the Old Testament, you know, the jealous God. Blah, blah, blah. It's like so annoying. Number one, like, don't be jealous of me. Number two, like, go do something else. And that's literally what Sophia was like. She was like, go do something else. And because you're not, then I promise you the man that, and this is where the translation thing comes in. And I think I should check this out, but I feel like the original Greek would have said anthropos, and it's been translated as man, but it's meant to mean more of humanity. And she said to Yaldabaoth, she's like, the immortal man of light, aka hers, will wipe away his shit like it's nothing. And that's what she said, like, way even before humanity got so to where we are today. She was like, there will be a time, it's called the consummation of the age, aka Revelations. She is the I don't even know what they call her in Revelations. I totally forget. The beast. Or no, there's a woman, the Scarlet Woman in Revelations, I think. But she is the beast because she is our animal mother. She is our planet. And that's basically what she was describing in, like, kind of before anything happened. And so that was the creation of the the archons. And you'll notice in the Bible who is working with this god and agreeing to his terms and living in fear of him and blah blah blah. Just take note of who is really attached to this god, who also shows up as Saturn. Just keep note. So she's still in a dream. And I know that sounds like so crazy, but it's like, you know, another beautiful paradox. Because of all this was happening in her imaginative state, this part of her that came down here is like it's a real physical thing, but it's physical because of her dream. So it's like we're made of her dream stuff. And that's the reality that we're within, is her body, which is the earth, the moon, and the sun. She was trapped in the other systems, which is an archontic makeup, which is why they don't have any life. And I believe that the avataric descent was used for perhaps certain planets, maybe Venus and Jupiter. I don't know. That's something else I'm still playing with, is the relevance of the planet system on for us today. Because I mean, I like astrology. I find it relevant, but my interpretations are always shifting. So I'm gonna lean into that a little bit more because it's really cool. But so this dreaming Sophia that became Gaia for us to live and thrive upon, that's where we are. That's our setting. Everything is Sophia's body, plasma, which is why it feels like we're living in a hologram, because we can interact and play with it. And literally, like, all around me, like, this is like Sophia air. You know how we have water, which is super magical, and fish live in water and they don't know that it's water. That's the same thing for us. We live inside Sophia's body, and around the earth there is a shield protecting us, and it is Gaia intelligence. Like, the levels to this stuff, crazy. But anyways, that is where we are. So it's still a dream. Okay. And so far for Sophia, it's been a nightmare. Obviously. It's kind of sucked. And this was not her intention for us to fully access our divine potential. So the solution is a multi-dimensional one, and it was for her to come here and to be the setting for us to successfully thrive, while also waking up within the dream to interact with us as her experiment. So she wasn't always awake within the dream, because she is a young Aeon and this is her first time doing avataric descent. So that's why there's so much trouble at first. And I want to do another episode on the parallel of Sophia's fall and the creation of Yaldabaoth, and that kind of relationship parallel to women getting into abusive relationships. I said it. Because I think that it's just something that keeps playing in my head. That's like, it's an archetype for us that we just fall into naturally, because we are in the dark and we don't know what is actually going on here. So the continued solution of hers is to become lucid, and she has been lucid for a couple hundred years in this setting, in her setting, to interact with us. So what does that mean? What that means is that when we dream, we are literally interacting in the ways that we need to interact with her while we dream. And it's such a beautiful, multi-dimensional solution. And when we go to sleep and experience and even daydream, meditate, like those kinds of experiences, that is when Sophia has clear access to us, because we are operating in a common realm where she can be seen and felt and heard and touched. And it's not that this only happens in the dream for us, it's that dreaming for us and being in the astral is so natural because we go to sleep every night, that it's like her first line of access is to access us in our dreams. And either Gaia or Sophia, like it's the same being, different expressions. And the purpose of that is so that we can co-create, dance, move together, shine together, express how we're actually supposed to express. That is the real purpose of that lucid cooperation. And she can show up in your dream. You don't even have to ask, and she'll just show up in your dream. But you can ask, and you can be like, hey, Sophia, I would love to get to know you. Please show me in a way that's meaningful to me how present you are in my life. Something like that. Or you can just, write it down. Like these intentions and affirmations are permission slips. Like it's like you're saying, yes, I consent to this happening, and she can go in and start to work with you, because free will is still a thing, baby. Like we have free will. That's why so many people are not on her side. And that's why so many people have tried to hide this story and pretend that Yaldabaoth, Yahweh, Sky Daddy is the be all end all. He's not. And literally this was like, he was created, he said this, and Sophia came to him and was like, you're not though. Like, I'm here, I am light, don't forget where you're rooted. And it's not that he forgot, he just denied it. And that, I believe, because of the humans who work with that power, I believe is why the goddess and the feminine has been so far removed from any kind of history. Like, okay, we have Athena. Okay, we have, Sophia is a Greek wisdom goddess. You have all these different aspects, but I've never read anything to the level of this kind of story that has the kind of continuity of why we were made, before we were made, who made us, how they made us, where we went to gestate in the M42 Nebula, and how we eventually came to live upon the material body of the mother that created us. And the mother is so important because when she dreamed unilaterally without Thelete. And that is why our universe, planet, the human experience, I guess. That's why the human experience of Anthropos 10 is so entangled with the feminine, and why the feminine has been so thrown under the bus for everything. And even when they tell you that, it's feminism, like, that ain't it. That ain't it. Like, feminism is such a shithole of an ideology. Like, it's just turning all of these women into thinking that they shouldn't be with a partner, they shouldn't have kids, they shouldn't, like, no. As a woman, when you express your divine feminine traits, you are the right side of the brain, you are mystical, you are magical, you are everything, the whole creation. You get to have all of the mother creator's powers. You get all of her mystery, and we get to unravel that over time. And it's not that men aren't important. Men are very important to this story. We need the divine masculine. We don't need the distorted masculine. And the emphasis has been on the distorted masculine so much. And the point is we need that masculine groundedness, Sophia just imagined and created this whole scenario out of her love and desire as a mother figure. And perhaps if she took a step back, giving Sophia advice, perhaps if she took a step back during this phase and she didn't have this kind of dream imagining, and she was like, hey, Thelete, you're my consort, let's imagine how this would work together. And maybe a different avatar descent would have taken, but it doesn't matter. It hasn't happened like that. But that, like, that's just what I mean. To have the divine masculine, divine feminine, it would have been a different result. And I believe that Thelete's avataric descent has something to do with Jupiter. Again, that's something I haven't fleshed out, but Sophia is wisdom. Okay. Thelete is intention. Like, it's directed wisdom. And we all need that wisdom. We all need that direction. And in most, I don't want to say every, but in most ancient religions, kind of, or worshipings, whatever, they had a mother goddess figure. And specifically with Isis as an expression of the divine feminine, and Osiris and Horus, story is that Osiris was killed and cut up by his brother Set. Isis, his wife, found all his pieces. Not only, I think this is maybe an allegory for physical and astral, but physically and astrally, she put his body back together and brought him back into the body so that he could be reborn through her. So what that means is that when Osiris died, Isis was waiting for him on the other side in the astral. She was just like, and whether it was Isis or Sophia, and then Isis as a representation of Sophia, that story of the feminine already being there, already being able to guide you to what you need to do, where you need to go, shows how important that feminine archetype is to our overall reality experience. And these veils between this other dimension, and I don't know how many dimensions there are, but there's definitely more than one that we interact with, and the veils between that are getting really thin. And that is why Sophia is making more physical, one-on-one contact via dreams, meditations, synchronicities, this podcast, or okay, I don't know if I'm actually going to upload a podcast, but episode. And she's making herself known, like, I am her mouthpiece right now. I am literally, like, I have some notes that I'm trying to follow, but I don't know what I'm going to say. And I know that it's going to be perfect because we need to absorb, number one, the story is huge. We need to absorb the story, what it means, and then how we move within it. Because that, I mean, there's so many beautiful parts of this story, but that is probably the most beautiful thing, and why I will, like, keep talking about this and keep tweeting about it with graphics. most beautiful part is that our role as the creation is active now. As soon as we understand our setting, the story, the crime of this story not being told and being suppressed, actually, as every woman is a prostitute and like don't listen to Mary Magdalene, whatever, all of that, and the realization, the realization that we are inside of it, within it, as it. We are her dream body expressing ourselves as a fractal of her, and she's literally like inside. She is the animation of us. She is our soul. She is our light. That is why everybody talks about light. We have light on the inside. Well, Sophia is the organic light that makes up all of us, everything. And that's why when you observe the reality that you want, you're observing her body, and it's becoming activated in that scenario that you are imagining. She responds. And she's a mirror. She's a mirror until you break the mirror and you realize who is on the other side of the mirror, and that it is a feminine wisdom. It is a motherly figure. I'll never forget one of the first experiences I had with her. I just felt like I was on her lap and she was like cuddling me, and she was like, "Hey, baby." I was like, "Hey." And once we get that the organic light is to be interacted with, not only on a physical level, but also a spiritual, and in our dreams, in, you know, whatever kind of kind of way that she shows up, that's when we get to the next level. And I honestly think that this is why at the center, a lot of religions will kind of allude to a feminine, but they never give out the whole story. It's because our role is active, and as soon as we know that our role is to recognize her, recognize that the organic light, which is the Holy Grail, is alive and like wants to interact with us, and that's why she shows up, and that's why she's like, her information is there for us to find. Like, it just, some random kid found the Nag Hammadi codices in 1945 in a freaking cave, you know? They almost burned it. And they did burn some of it. She came into her experiment to be the setting, and so she could interact with us so that we don't fuck it up again. Because there was 1 to 9. We are 10. We are the successful one. I promise. That's why we're lucid and we're having this experience with her. Her solution is to interact with us so that we can unlock our genius potential that she gave us, that she wants us to express. She's like, please express it. I gave it to you for a reason. She's like, well, I've just got to teach him. I've got to teach him one-on-one how to express their full potential, because we just weren't getting it. And this is a rare and divine intervention. And it's just so beautiful that the love that she had for us created this scenario for her to interact with. And that's why when you start to interact with her, she teaches you, like, John Lam Lash has an aspect of her called Mama Teach. And it's the same as Mahavidya, I believe. He's got some really awesome stuff with, it's just awesome. But Mama Teach. Mom will teach you. She'll teach you. She'll be like, what do you want to know? Please tell me. Let's do it together. And it's not going to happen as fast as you want it, Mariah. I always want everything so fast. And that's the beautiful part about working with her, is that it happens really slow and in ways that you're like, oh yeah, oh I get it now. And this is the point, is so that she can teach us how to succeed and how to interact with this reality, because there is a how. And the first how, other than through dreams and however she shows up for you, if she's not showing up for you, then that is your sign to connect with the earth. The earth. Why do you think they want us believing that the earth is in such trouble and that she's just going to die and we need to save her? Like, we don't need to do anything other than stop hurting her. But the population doesn't need to be reduced. You know, there's enough resources to go around for sure. There's more than enough. This is her body of expression was to be the setting for us to thrive. And the Goldilocks thing, like, that's what science is, such like just a Goldilocks zone where we happen to blah blah and happen to be, and you know, God created the heaven and earth and blah blah blah. It's like there's more why needed, and this is the why, is to intervene in her own experiment, to correct her own experiment, to steer it in the way that she needs to. And part of her correction was the mandala effect. Isn't that just so fun? Like, that's just so amazing. Like, I used to be so obsessed with the mandala effect, and I was like, who is doing this stuff? Like, what is going on? Because I thought my heart was way more on the left. And no, the mandala effect is her way of showing us that she is making her corrections, and it will go the way that she needs it to go, because she is here. She is in every single being, whether you accept it or not. It doesn't matter. The light that is in you is Sophia, wisdom. It's plasma. It's the fifth element. It's that piece that we're missing, is this feminine love for us. Like, that's all she has is love. And unless you're in the way of us thriving as a species, she'll bring you along, and as long as you display that will to do that, she, you know, as soon as you do it, she's like, great, exactly the right time that I needed to get you on my track. And once we connect with the earth and we respect the earth as the clothing of Sophia, as we are the clothing of Sophia as well, and to love the earth as a part of our own body, as an extension of our body, because we are in this codependent system within the earth. Like, we are not on top of the earth. We are in the atmosphere, which is like Sophia's skin, Gaia's skin. And, you know, we breathe out what trees breathe in. That is just exhibit A of we are in a open source system. And we are meant to thrive within that system. And, you know, all of her enemies, our enemies, the enemies of life, put chemtrails in the sky, shit in our tap water, garbage in our food, garbage in our soil. Like, that is not to thrive, you know, and they are not involved in her experiment if that is the way that they will continue. And a lot of people are checking out because of that. And to die is not some tragic thing. It just means that you are not assisting in this anymore, and it's time for you to leave your tight shoe and to be somewhere more comfortable, I guess, because this is not it. Once we have that dialogue, that dance, that engagement with Sophia, whether it's through Sophia directly, right to the Anacor, right to the Pleroma, and she may show up as gold for you, show up as a bird, show up in one of her avataric forms as Kali. I have, oh my god, my Kali cards are like, She is the warrior aspect of Sophia, Kali. And however she shows up for you, whether it's that way or whether it's with the earth, from Gaia, that's how I first got introduced to Sophia, was through Gaia. That relationship is meant to happen and meant to be expanded upon so that she can reveal to you in a way that is like a gentle hug for your soul, not for your ego, for your soul, so that we can understand why we have the talents that we have already. Why we can do the things we do. Why we have a certain propensity to do this thing versus something else. You know, our natural gifts and talents are our expressions of Sophia meant to express. Like our soul's desires, our heart's desires, our soul's desires are Sophia's desires because she is the light of our soul. It's the same thing. So when we, hey, stop it. He wants to pull down Ganesh. When we understand that the things that we've wanted this whole time are the reason that we came here to express, to, in whatever sense that is. Do you know what I mean? Like for me, I'll use my own experience. For me, I love to communicate. I'm a good writer. I went to university for a while, and honestly, I stayed with history because I can write a damn good paper. And I love to express myself that way. And you know, the more that I start to work with Sophia, the more that I'm feeling like writing again, the more that I want to write poems, the more that I want to write stories. You know, it's just, I've been writing since I was like really young. I used to write poems when I was like 10 or some shit. And then, you know, I think I'm like, wow, it's almost like I was meant to keep writing and keep expressing this entire time. And I just, you know, from when you're 12 to early 20s, you just get caught up in society, and that's what they do. And that is the plan of the archons, to stop you from remembering. It is almost so genius, but it won't quite work. No, because we remember, and Sophia can approach us and approach individuals one-on-one and be like, hey, you remember those gifts and soul expressions and things that you're like naturally good at? Well, that's exactly what I need from you, and I need you to not be afraid anymore, because that is the virus, the malware, that piece that stops us from expressing within this reality dream is fear. And that's why do you think it's on the news all the time? Be scared. If you get the, you know, whatever, then you're going to die. If you don't get it, you're going to die. And blah, 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 blah. Like everything is like, one, be scared of death. I don't think it's scary. Number two, just be scared. And when we're in that state of fear, that is the frequency band of the archons, and that's where they can access us. And how they show up is, not only do they show up in the physical as the people who perpetuate religion, globalists, the techno globalists, to anybody that wants to put a chip in you, archontic. So not only do they show up that way, it's not like they're brand new to this. They show up in the astrals too, and they show up in your brain, and they show up when you're in that fear state. That's when they can access, like that is their frequency. And because you're there, they can access you, and they can be like, yes, be scared. But as soon as we're like, oh, you know what? Maybe we do live in, within a beautiful setting that loves us, and even the air around us wants us to thrive because it is all her body. And we, as powerful observers that we are, we get to activate that, and we get to interact with it, and we get to use it. And as soon as we do, we get that dialogue, and she starts to teach you not only how to be the perfect expression of you, but how to unlock those pieces, codes within you that are innate and that need to be expressed and that will be expressed. And the piece of malware that the archons got in there is the fear. So get rid of that. Do shit that scares you. I don't know. I went traveling by myself, scared the shit out of me, but it made me more confident. Gotta take out the fear chip. Because as soon as we take out the fear chip, it's like, oh yeah, there's actually nothing to be afraid of. Everything smiles back at you. And that is the point, that there are other frequency bands, and she operates on like, I think it's either 18 or 16 different like physical frequencies. Kali is one of them, and you tune into that frequency and you get to learn from that expression of wisdom, or you can just learn straight from Sophia. But she has these other expressions, other avatars that you get to interact with. So that is our role within the reality dream, because we are within her dream, and that's why reality feels so dreamlike. You know, when you start thinking of a red Mini Cooper and all you see is red Mini Coopers, it's because we have the same creative abilities. We get to operate within Sophia's dream. It's like if you had a lucid dream and other people in the dream were like interacting and playing with you and creating and making all these beautiful things. Like, that's how we're supposed to live. And we are those powerful creators. And now those two worlds of our dream world, astral, other dimensions, where we express those powers, are merging with the physical. And that has to do with rotations, magnetics, all this stuff. This is our right brain turning on more and merging. And we get to have that merge and understand that when we merge with Sophia, with the earth, with where we are, with our perfect self-expression. And in my opinion, and this is something I haven't fleshed out either, I believe that that's why they talk so much about the bridal chamber in religious texts and stuff, and the raising from the dead ritual, stuff like that. I believe, I've never done it, but I believe that this is who they marry. And, you know, marry, there you go. But I believe that there is that marriage of understanding the feminine source of life in the bridal chamber. And you find out when you're in a trance, in a meditative state, like that's her, like that's where she's always like, yeah, I'm in the astrals, baby, I'm dancing, I can do whatever we want here. And I believe that was the merging, to merge more with where we are, merge with the earth, and therefore you merge with the light, you merge with Sophia light, because this is not the first time somebody's figured this out. The light of Sophia being an animated personality, expression of living organic light, like light that moves and you can interact with and is wise, is a real thing. The Holy Grail, Anima Mercury, the just like light is intelligence, and it is Sophia. And we can see her like in physical waking life. Like if we get into the right state of mind, those realities merge and she shows up as Sophia. Right now in meditation, it's really easy to experience Gaia. I do that with people in shamanic journeys. And the whole point is to understand that we are so important that we wouldn't be here unless it was to express exactly as we're. Oh well, my whole system just froze and shut me out. But I didn't lose the video. I was like, Sophia does not want this. I'm finished. But the video was still there, so let's finish this. I'm gonna wrap it up because I've been blabbing for a really long time. Anyways, the point of what I was saying was that Sophia and who we are and what we are endowed with is very worthy of expression and very worthy of being here, and it's actually all we need. And if we could connect deeply with ourselves, if that's the only place that we can start is with self-love and loving the body that we are in, loving the expression that we are already, and honoring the stuff that makes us feel alive, honoring the stuff that makes our soul feel like it's expressing its true purpose, that is when, like, that's the frequency of Sophia that allows her to come in and be like, hey, these are my mysteries for you to learn and use so that you can access your full potential. Because, for example, some of the things that she can teach you in working one-on-one with her is, you know, maybe how to fine-tune your craft, how to find answers. You know, there, I saw this video of this one guy on YouTube, and he like took this old art and created so many layers with it that he found different faces in the layers, and he was like, Sophia is teaching me how to do this so that I can show you that, like, this whole universe, this whole expression, this whole experience is her code. It's her program. It is the golden ratio. So phi, phi is very, very important. Phi, and I got this like forever ago. I had no idea, but it was phi. I just wanted the symbol. And then I ended up in Greece for a while, and the city where I stayed had the phi as the beginning letter. They were like, oh, it's because of that. Well, it's very multidimensional. But anyways, the solution here, and the point of all this, is that you are meant to express how you really want to express, how, like, whatever you are good at. And obviously, like, there's probably going to be somebody that's like, oh, well, pedophiles want to be pedophiles. That's not the same thing. That's not the same thing. Like, one, no. Two, this is in harmony with all life. Anything that Sophia brings you to do, anything that your soul actually brings you to do, is going to be in harmony with all life. Your life as a fractal of Sophia, a fractal of light. This light is alive. She wants to interact with you. And as a fractal of Gaia, as, you know, we come from the earth. We eat from the earth. We live on the earth. We live in the earth. Who sustains us? Who sustains us? Mother Earth. She's been feminine this whole time, and to allow Gaia to unfold so you may know Sophia, and then once you know Sophia, you get to know the aeons and how we were created. Like, the story just shouldn't be suppressed anymore, and that's why me, little Canadian girl, I'm gonna keep talking about it, because that's how this stuff gets out, is just to talk about it. And I really believe that, especially women, the more women, and men obviously, but the more women can know this story and know how powerful it is to be in your unexplainable magic, because that is Sophia. She is outrageous. She literally fell into her own experiment because of outrageous love. Like, she's just like, I love it. And she became it, and became the setting for us to thrive. And when we interact with her within her reality dream, we get to unlock the fullest, most beautiful, most blissful experience that we could ever even imagine, because that is the base of aeonic creation: beauty, love, and truth. That is a very important triangle, and the number one thing is beauty. It's beauty, and think of how much humans love beauty. We love it. And it's actually the point of expression, is to be more and more beautiful. And I think that was something John Lamash says, is something about, it's like, once you start working with Sophia, you just, how can you not be beautiful? How can it not be more beautiful every single day to interact with where you are, the air that sustains you, the nature that's all around you, and all of her expressions, and then get to meet the source, because she shows up in your meditations, in your synchronicities, in your dreams. That is the reality dream. It is her lucid dream that we're in, and we get to become lucidly active players within it. So, for example, maybe your passion is to be a singer, and your perfect expression is to understand Sophia, and perhaps maybe this song is about that feminine love, and then that song becomes a hit because that's the song that she needs to get out to the people. Like, it's those kinds of things where you already have those skills, you already like to be a singer, you already want to like have that role, whatever. And she's like, great, this is how we are going to do it together, side by side, and we are going to express this in reality for the harmony of all beings. And it's just such a fabulous idea, such an amazing principle, that is what it's like to work with Sophia. Is you get to really experience your human endowment, your human potential, genius potential, when you interact with the creator that wants you to fully express it. Not some jealous sky daddy being like, sacrifice your kids for me, please, otherwise I don't trust you. It's like, no. There's way more to the full expression as illuminated beings. And that's the whole thing of Illuminati, blah, blah, blah. It's about light. It's about light, and Sophia is the organic light. And I'm going to say that this is probably something that was known for a very long time and then was just erased by a group. I don't know if it was just the Hebrews, just Jesuits, just the Roman Catholics. I'm going to say there's a core group of them that are working with Sky Daddy to try to overtake humans and get them out of this experiment. But unfortunately, it is our experiment to live and thrive upon, not theirs. So, point of this whole episode, and I really hope it made sense, was to bring you back to where you are, why you are, and how you can use those ideas, those little pieces of the story, to interact with in your daily life, and to push you towards following your hunches, your intuitive hunches of, yeah, I should be doing this thing. And that's Sophia talking to you. That's Sophia saying, come here, come here, come here. And that's why I've never really found the New Age stuff, Christian stuff, anything to really click. And this is clicking for me because it's the kind of interaction that I get to experience, and I just think it's such a delicious way to live, to have that cooperation, because that's really what it is. Sophia is not like, follow me and do my way. She's like, no, this is what you're good at, because it's just, I made you, and you want to express this. Please express it so I can continue with my divine plan. And you are an active player. You're taking your starring role in Sophia's play, her dream, when you live your reality like it is your dream. And when you put those together, and you understand that life is really meant to be lived as this juicy dream experience of having our soul's desires that are in align with humanity thriving, to have them come to fruition, to be able to express them. That's what we came here for. That's why we're in a physical vessel, a physical casing of light, to be our own individual expression of intelligent light, to know our source so that we can be guided by our source to come back to our source. And the fact that our source is a mother figure that loves us, to me, just feels right. Like, it just feels like, now that makes sense. This other guy does not make sense. For a reason. You know, once it kind of all comes together, you're like, okay, I got it. So, if you take nothing else away from this episode, follow your intuitive hunches, because that is the organic light within you wanting to express through you to become your fullest, most expressed individual expression of genius potential in your flavor. Because she needs your flavor in this overall soup story that is being created, and nobody knows the end. And that's the most beautiful thing. And in Christian stuff, they say this is how it ends at Revelations. This is the end of blah, 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 blah. Well, I'll give you a different read of Revelation. It's the end of the Archons and the beginning of thriving human life, which is why the woman comes back, the woman of the firmament, I can't remember what it says in Revelations again, but the beast is Gaia, Sophia. And this is just how we move forward, and this is how everybody expresses in their perfect way, because once we do, we become that music note that is us, that Sophia knows us by, and we are a part of her overall harmony, and it's in sync together with her and with us and with the earth. It's all together. We're all on the same page, and we just have been told that we're not, and we have been told that we need to suppress our intuition, but it's all the same thing. So once we can kind of wrap that up and put it all together, it's like, oh yeah, my intuitive hunches aren't going to leave me in a situation where I'm homeless and broken, everybody hates me, because that's, you know, what media tells us, that's what the movies tell us, and think who owns all that stuff. No, like, when you take that step, and this is the Terence McKenna quote, when nature loves courage, nature, gaia-sophia, loves courage. When you take that step, you find out that the abyss you jump into is a featherbed. It is comfy, and she has all the solutions, and I tweeted this the other day. It's like, and this is from something John Lamash said too. It's like, Sophia has a bajillion arms, and she's dealing you into her card game, and every hand she has is a winning hand for you, and she's just like giving you win after win after win after win after win after win after win. It's just a matter of taking that card from her and being like, oh, you know what, I've actually been wanting to do this, and this is the sign I need to push me in the right direction. And then she gives you the next step, and it's a lot of trust, because you don't know how it's going to come out. C'est la vie, baby. But I just think that this whole journey and story is a really beautiful thing to share. This is a long one. I'm going to wrap it up here. Thank you for listening. I love you so much. Please, if you have any questions or comments or directions you want to see this story go, I just kind of talk intuitively, but if you have anything, please let me know. And let me know how this resonates with you. I would love to chat about it. If you don't follow me on Twitter, Mariah KCG1, I am there. Probably the only social media I'm active on other than YouTube. And I will see you later. Mwah.